Okay, let's unpack this. So, the other day, I couldn't help but think about those times, when I first tried using really proper, like textbook English out in the real world.
Yeah.
The looks I got were just, well, there was something else.
Oh, I bet. Like, what happened? I can only imagine.
Right. Okay, so picture this. I walk into a coffee shop feeling all, I don't know, sophisticated. And I say, clear as day, greetings, may I kindly request a single cup of your finest hot beverage?
Oh, no.
Yeah, the barista just kind of stared, like blinked a few times,
Yeah.
totally bewildered. He finally goes, you want a coffee?
Hmm. Yep. Sounds about right.
And it kept happening. At the grocery store, asking for directions. Even this kid on a scooter, I asked him something like, are you deriving enjoyment from your wheeled
We
conveyance?
didn't.
I did, and just got these confused looks, these polite but slightly nervous smiles back. It really felt like I was speaking a completely different language sometimes.
Well, it's funny, but your stories, they perfectly nail the difference, don't they? Between that structured English we learn in class
Mhm.
and how people actually, talk, the flexible, informal way we chat every day.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder what fluency actually means.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're going to explore all that English they kind of gloss over in school.
Right.
The little things, the nuances that make you sound, well, natural and comfortable. Moving beyond just grammar rules to get into the rhythm, the tone, the whole vibe of a real conversation.
Yeah, if you're listening now and you've ever felt that way, like you studied English for ages, but you still feel kind of awkward speaking it,
Mm-hmm.
or that it doesn't quite sound, right,
Mm-hmm.
then this is definitely for you because the way it's taught and the way it's used, they can feel miles apart sometimes.
Totally. And this whole idea, it actually sparked from a really interesting discussion we were having about learning English from real world stuff, not just books.
Right, yeah.
It just highlighted this whole other layer of language. Okay, so let's dig in. First up,
Yeah.
those sentences, the perfectly grammatical ones we practiced.
The ones that are technically correct but just sound off.
Exactly. Like my coffee shop disaster. Greetings, may I kindly request? It just doesn't work.
No.
Or someone in our source material mentioned saying something like, I am residing in this locality for professional purposes
Oh, wow. Oh, right.
instead of just, I live here for work.
And the thing is, those textbook versions, they aren't actually wrong, grammatically speaking.
Yep.
They follow all the rules, but they just lack that natural feel,
Yeah.
that ease.
Yeah, they feel stiff.
They do, and that can kind of put up a wall between you and whoever you're talking to without you even meaning to.
Right. And fluency ultimately isn't about using the biggest words or the most complicated sentences, is it?
Not at all.
It's just about being understood,
Yeah.
easily understood. If you're using like 10 words when two would do the job clearly, it's maybe not the best way to connect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about efficiency, too, in a way. And that's why, like you mentioned, watching TV shows or vlogs, immersing yourself in real English,
Hmm.
that's so incredibly helpful. You start to absorb the natural patterns, the common phrases, without even trying sometimes.
Yeah, you just pick it up.
Right.
Which actually leads nicely into the next big thing, tone.
Mhm.
Honestly, I'm starting to think how you say something is often way more important than the actual words.
Oh, absolutely. Tone carries so much weight. It's interesting how little focus it sometimes gets in formal lessons, isn't it?
Totally. It's all grammar, vocab.
Right. But tone is fundamental to how people actually receive your message.
Think about just the word thanks. You can say it like you really mean it.
Uh-huh.
Or like a quick brush off.
Yeah, like, yeah, whatever, thanks.
Or even like dripping with sarcasm. Oh, thanks.
Completely different meanings.
Exactly. And it's all down to the tone. But in school, thanks is just a polite word. End of story.
It's like tone is this invisible layer, isn't it? It adds the emotion, the intention. It's the secret sauce, maybe.
Secret sauce. I like that. Yeah. It brings the words to life.
It really does. Warmth, frustration, humor, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You could have perfect grammar, but if your tone is off,
Yeah.
you could sound cold or insincere or even kind of aggressive without meaning to.
Oh, I learned that the hard way. I sent a text once just saying, I understand. Simple, right?
Seems fine.
Well, I meant it to be empathetic. They took it as me being annoyed.
Ouch. Yeah, text is tricky for tone.
So tricky. Next time, I send a quick voice note, same basic message, but with a warm tone. Totally different reaction. It just,
Yeah.
it breathes life into it.
Definitely.
And you know what else adds that natural life? Using reactions, not just responses.
Ah, yes. That's a really subtle but super important point. We're often taught to give the correct answer.
Right. Like if someone asks, do you like movies? The textbook answer is probably going to be, yes, I do.
Which is fine. Grammatically perfect.
But so dry, it tells you nothing. It doesn't exactly invite more conversation, does it?
Not really.
Yeah.
Whereas in a real chat, you'd hear something like,
Yeah, for sure. Or, oh my God, I'm obsessed.
right. Or even, depends what kind of movie.
Exactly. Those are reactions. They show your personality. They invite the other person in.
They sound spontaneous, engaged,
Yeah.
like you're actually in the conversation, not just giving data.
Totally. Getting comfortable using those little reactions like, no way, or that's wild, or whatever, that was a game changer for me.
I bet.
People actually started saying, wow, your English sounds so natural.
Mm.
And I think it's partly that reacting like a real person, not just a language robot.
It's about that connection again, being expressive.
Okay, so reactions are good. Now, let's talk about something schools usually tell us not to do. Fillers.
The dreaded,
The villains. Eliminate them. Sound smarter.
right. We're told they make us sound hesitant or like we don't know what we're talking about.
But here's the thing. Native speakers use them all the time.
Constantly.
Can you imagine listening to someone tell a story with zero pauses, no ums or likes or so? It would sound weird, really stiff.
Almost robotic, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like a GPS voice reading a script. And, these fillers, they aren't just like verbal noise. They often have a function.
How so?
Well, they give you a split second to think right, to gather your thoughts, find the right word.
Okay, like a little processing buffer.
Yeah, exactly. Or just to keep the conversational ball rolling without an abrupt silence. They help with the rhythm.
So they're not necessarily errors, they're just part of how people talk naturally.
Pretty much. I mean, obviously, you don't want every other word to be like, but
Right, moderation.
getting rid of them completely actually makes you sound less natural, not more. So if you're listening and you sometimes pause or use fillers, don't sweat it. It's normal. It makes you sound real.
Good point. Okay, sounding real. That brings us to context. Knowing when to say something.
Oh, context is king. Absolutely crucial. You can know all the words, but if you don't know the right time or place.
Yeah. It falls flat. Or worse. Like, okay, saying, how do you do? Technically correct for a very formal first meeting, maybe. But walk into a party and say that.
Yeah, you're going to get some funny looks.
Yeah.
Like you just time traveled.
Exactly. It's about matching your language to the situation, the vibe, the people.
Yeah.
Register, right. That's the...
Right, the level of formality. So a phrase like, it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Perfect for maybe meeting the queen or a super formal job interview.
Possibly. But
Well,
say that to someone you meet at a barbecue.
way too much. Comes across as really stiff, maybe even a bit distant.
Totally.
I actually did something like that once. Used this formal phrase I'd learned on a classmate. I said something like, it has been a significant duration since our last interaction.
Oh, wow. Okay. How'd that go down?
She just stared at me and went, did you just say interaction?
Huh. See? Context.
It's everything. If you only learn the right phrase but not where it fits, it just doesn't work in the real world.
No, it really doesn't. And that leads us right into another area. Textbooks often kind of fumble idioms and expressions.
Oh, man, yes. They might give you a list, right? With these really dry definitions.
Yeah. Like break a leg means good luck.
Which is already kind of weird and counterintuitive.
Paradoxical. Yeah.
And you're left thinking, okay, but how do I actually use that? When does anyone really say it?
Exactly. There's often zero guidance on the practical use, the cultural feel of it. But native speakers, we use them constantly.
All the time, like, I'm beat instead of, I'm very tired.
Or, that's a red flag for a warning sign. They add color, personality. Shortcuts, almost.
They do. And if you haven't picked them up, you can easily miss the real meaning or just feel a bit lost.
Oh, totally. I remember finally figuring out what I'm down meant like, yeah, I want to do that.
Oh, yeah. Where from?
Just from watching YouTubers, they used it all the time. Want to grab coffee? Yeah, I'm down.
Right. Much more natural than I am agreeable to participate.
Exactly. It's like a whole hidden layer of the language.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got phrases, tone, fillers, context, idioms. What about just the back and forth, the flow?
Yeah, the actual conversation itself. Schools don't really teach that beyond those super basic dialogues, do they?
Not really. You get the A, hello, how are you? B, I am fine, thank you, and you.
Right. Which is nothing like a real conversation.
No. Real chats are messy. People interrupt.
Uh-huh.
They change the subject. Suddenly they trail off.
It's much more dynamic,
Yeah.
less predictable.
And navigating that flow, that's a skill too, isn't it? Knowing how to jump in or change topics smoothly or pick up on someone else's point.
Definitely. It's not about just taking turns delivering perfect sentences.
No, it's about keeping the connection going, keeping the energy up.
Yeah. I found learning little transition phrases really helped me there, like, oh, by the way, or speaking of that.
Yeah, those little signposts are super useful.
They just help you weave things together more naturally. It takes you from feeling like you're giving answers to actually, chatting.
Absolutely. And part of real chatting, let's be honest, is messing up sometimes, making mistakes.
Uh-oh. The other thing we're terrified of.
Exactly. This idea that fluency means perfection. It holds so many people back. They get so anxious about every little slip-up.
Oh, I used to be like that. I'd use the wrong tense or something and just freeze. Panic, thinking everyone would judge me.
Right. But think about it. Do native speakers talk perfectly all the time?
Definitely not.
We stumble over words, we forget things, we use kind of messy grammar sometimes when we're speaking
It
casually.
change our minds mid-sentence.
All the time. It's normal.
So fluency isn't about being error-free. It's more about just keeping going, having the confidence to communicate even if it's not perfect.
Exactly that. It's about communication, not perfection. I once told a whole group of people, I'm boring, when I meant I'm bored.
Oh, no.
It was embarrassing for a second, but then we all just laughed. It wasn't a big deal. Sometimes those little mistakes even make you seem more human, more relatable.
That's a great way to look at it. Okay, last big piece, and this one's huge, I think. Cultural English.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely vital, and often the biggest missing piece in language classes.
You can know all the grammar, all the words,
Mm.
but if you don't get the cultural context.
You're missing a massive chunk of the meaning. Huge misunderstandings can happen.
Right. Like someone saying, oh, great, when something bad happens.
Sarcasm.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you take that literally.
You'll think they're happy about the disaster, but the tone, the situation, the culture tells you they mean the opposite.
Exactly. Or think about slang like, I'm dead, when something's hilarious.
Makes zero literal sense.
None. But culturally, everyone understands it means that was incredibly funny.
Or those tricky phrases like, that's interesting.
Yes. The polite way to say, I don't agree, or I think that's a bit weird.
Passive-aggressive sometimes.
Can be, yeah. Depends on the tone again. But it's rarely a simple statement of fact.
It's like trying to use a map without a compass, isn't it? Learning English without the cultural understanding.
That's a perfect analogy. You have the data, the words, the grammar,
Yeah.
but you don't know how to navigate the actual social landscape, the emotions, the subtext.
Which is why really getting a feel for those cultural bits, the humor, the sarcasm, the indirectness sometimes is just so essential for sounding truly natural.
It really is.
Yeah.
And maybe, just to kind of anchor these ideas, we could quickly touch on some of the key words we've used.
Good idea. Like understanding not just the definition, but the feel of words like.
Like tone itself or vibe.
Yeah. Or obsess, use casually, not literally.
Invite in the context of conversation. Eliminate versus just reducing fillers.
Hesitate, paradoxically, for idioms like break a leg.
Red flag, that feeling of something being awkward.
Making a transition, feeling panic about mistakes, sounding stiff.
And definitely sarcasm and passive-aggressive.
Yeah.
Knowing those is key.
Yeah. Getting the nuances of those words really helps unlock that natural sound. Okay, so to wrap this all up.
It seems like the main takeaway is that real-world fluent English is just so much more than grammar rules and vocab lists, right?
So much more. It's about using phrases that actually sound natural.
Paying attention to your tone.
Reacting genuinely, not just answering.
Understanding the context, the situation.
Weaving in those common idioms and expressions.
Navigating the actual back-and-forth flow.
Being okay with making the occasional mistake.
And crucially, getting a handle on the cultural side of things.
Exactly. And if you, listening, start to consciously bring these things into how you use and learn English.
It's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah.
You'll feel more confident, and honestly, you'll just sound more like, well, like yourself, but in English.
Totally. So here's maybe a final thought to leave you with. Try paying closer attention, maybe this week, to how native speakers you hear actually communicate. But look beyond the words. Listen to their tone. Watch their reactions. Notice the little pauses, the expressions they use, the unspoken stuff.
Because real fluency, maybe.
Yeah.
It isn't just about knowing the language. It's about understanding the people who use it.
Yeah. Something to think about.